But why doesn't, for instance, teachers union doesn't stand up for the teachers when they are getting bullied at school?
Well, because the unions are the ones bullying the teachers. They are the bullies.
Yeah, but when the students bully the teachers,
the unions
I see it all the time.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question. So, the so-called unions, well, the first presidential candidate that they supported was Jimmy Carter. Okay, they got him into office. His thank you gift to them was the National Department of Education with a cabinet position so that they could control. That's how they got control of our schools. Thank you, Jimmy Carter.
And that's how Department of Education was created?
Yep.
In the first place?
Yep. And the cabinet position. Okay, wicked. That's wicked. So they start controlling our country, or our schools, through that. Now, fast forward. They put Obama in office twice. When they put Obama in office, and you know, most teachers don't know this. I hope teachers are listening. I hope
yeah,
we
but
can
why
get
are you saying they put him in office?
The so-called teacher unions put Obama in office. Money, lots of it. I told you they collect about $5 billion annually, tax-free, and they manipulate teachers to be boots on the ground, going door to door, phone banking. You can't believe how much work teachers do for the so-called unions and their communist agenda.
Can you do that?
Oh my gosh! I don't think you should be able to do it, but it's happening. When I was a teacher, constantly they were telling us we had to phone bank against school choice. We had to phone bank against Trump, you know, whatever conservative was in office. Phone bank against Bush, whoever it was. Always phone banking against the values of our own students. Only their propaganda was so manipulative, people buy into it. There are millions of teachers around this country who are manipulated or bullied into sitting down and phone banking, calling the very parents whose kids they've had in their class. These parents trust them. Hi, this is Mrs. Smith. Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. It's so great to hear you. What do you need? I'll do anything for you. Well, we need to defeat, you know, this parental choice bill. You know, it's not what it claims to be. It's going to destroy our schools. Oh, okay, I'll vote against it. That's happening every day for decades in this country. And these teachers aren't paid to do that. They're manipulated. Well, let me just tell a story. I can't use a name because I don't have permission to use this person's name. But the district in which I live, Capistrano Unified, massive district, way too big. No school district should be. In fact, we shouldn't have school districts. We should have one-room schoolhouses again and homeschooling. But this massive district, there was a gentleman, teacher, whose uncle was running for office. I think he was running for assembly. I can't remember. Let's say assembly. Well, the unions were against his uncle because his uncle had good values, American values. So in the meetings, in the teacher union meetings, they were putting pressure on all these teachers to campaign against his uncle. Now, the unions didn't know it was his uncle. They're just putting pressure on him. You have to campaign against this guy. This young man, this teacher, was so bullied by the unions. He believed in his uncle. He was voting for his uncle. He had the same values as his uncle. But he was so bullied by the unions, who basically say to you, if you don't get out and campaign, we're taking the money out of your paycheck to cover somebody, to hire somebody to do it for you. Okay, that's the kind of stuff they do. They bullied him so much, he went door to door campaigning against his own uncle, for whom he was voting. Okay, this is how wicked these unions are. Okay, and they have boots on the ground all over the country. They've also totally infiltrated the PTA. The PTA is totally corrupt, run by the unions.
What's PTA?
Parent-Teacher Association, so-called. All these parents think, oh, the PTA is so great, I'm going to join, I'm going to, you know, that's how I'm going to get a voice. No, the PTA is controlled by the unions. When I went to the California State House multiple times to speak out in, you know, protection of children and families, every single time the so-called PTA was there with the unions, backing the sexualization of our kids, or backing the latest AB 1955, I think it was, where they won't give parents right. PTA was for that. They were at the State House lobbying for it. Okay, they're not a parent-teacher association. They're communists. They're
Perverts Teachers Association.
Perverts, I love it. And you know, they're useful idiots, really, because they're being manipulated. A lot of them think, "Oh, I'm doing the right thing." They're being manipulated. So, so this is how it rolls. This is how these unions work. This is, you know, what they do to teachers. And you know, teachers are good teachers. A lot of them have PTSD. A lot of them are retiring early because they just can't take it anymore. They can't take the corruption, the sexualization, all of it. So we got off track. I was talking about the violence in the schools, the teachers getting bullied.
Yes.
Okay, so the unions, the so-called teacher unions, put Obama in office. Once they got Obama in office, the unions wrote policy called racial equity discipline policies. Obama signed it, goes into law. Now, shame on all the school districts because all they want is a bunch of money because the unions are taking all their money, so they're always looking for money. So if you sign up for this federal funding that goes along with racial equity discipline policies, which most districts in the country signed up for it, now you get this huge flow of cash flow from the federal government if you follow this policy. What are racial equity discipline policies? They're policies that say children of color, if you have any speck of color, okay, my family on my dad's side, Native American, so I'm 1/8 Native American, so that makes me a person of color, even though I'm white as can be. So any color in you, well, now you're not allowed to suspend these kids anymore. Even if they punch the teacher in the face, even if they throw a chair at another student, even if they steal a computer and throw it on the ground, all these things have happened. These are real examples that kids have done in our public schools. These kids are out of control, but they're not allowed to be disciplined.
That's racism.
It is racism, 100%. Pushed by Obama, pushed by the so-called teacher union. They're racists. Okay, so if you... Basically what they said is you have to bring down your suspension rates for kids of color. So let's say, so for every district it's going to be different. Let's say the district had a 15% suspension rate of kids of color. Well, you have to bring it down to some arbitrary number. Let's say 5%. You have to bring it down. If you bring it down, you haven't improved the behavior, you just bring it down.
Yes.
More money comes flowing to you from the federal government. If you don't bring it down, they're going to take money away. Okay, this is crooked. This is totally crooked. This is why our schools have become literal war zones. These policies have literally led to school shootings in this country. So Obama, Mr. Hope and Change, did this to us through his pals in the communist so-called teacher unions. So that's why teachers are being pummeled. In Minnesota, okay, you think California's bad? Minnesota's our twin. They're in bad shape in Minnesota. Okay, that Governor Walz that just got handpicked by Kamala Harris, okay, he's a train wreck. That dude is
He's the best of the best. What are you talking about?
The best of the
communists. He's the best.
Oh, yeah, if you're a communist, you might think he's the best. But so that man, in that man's state, in Minnesota, sweet little Minnesota nice, all these Minnesota's the greatest state. I have a lot of friends there. Wonderful, beautiful state. In that state, the schools are so out of control because of racial equity discipline policies. I personally know a teacher who has a brain injury because he was attacked by 2 students and nobody came to help him. And he he was pummeled, has a brain injury, hasn't been able to teach since. It happened like 10 years ago. It happened a while ago. I know another precious female teacher that a child attacked and injured her so severely she's not been able to teach since for years. And her name's Debbie York, and she goes out all the time trying to get legislators to understand you've got to quit, promoting these policies. These policies are bad. I know teachers who dared. A black teacher, Aaron Benner, he's in my book actually. Aaron Benner was so brave. He was teaching in St. Paul, Minnesota. He went to the school board meeting and spoke against the racial equity discipline policies. He goes, we're not doing the kids any favors. They're falling apart. We need to discipline them. It's just going to get worse. You know what happened to him after he spoke out?
He got fired.
Nope. But
Worse.
But it got to that. Worse. The ACLU came after him. The teacher unions started with the district, made false accusations against him. He had 17 years, perfect record, great teacher, one of the best teachers I've ever met. Perfect record, 17 years. All of a sudden he has 3 investigations against him. Supposedly he abused a kid, supposedly he this, supposedly he that. So they just start harassing the heck out of him. You see what they're doing to President Trump? Okay, that's the kind of stuff they've done to teachers who speak out for a long time. Not on that level, we don't have all the money he has, but they've abused us like that, lawfare, for years to teachers. So they literally tried to destroy his career. And the union did nothing for him. I have him on camera stating how the unions, told him to plead guilty or something, and he wasn't guilty. They did nothing for him. He ended up, thank God, finding a better job in a private school. He's a dean of a private school now. And, he can raise his family, but Those kids in that inner city school needed Aaron Benner. He was a great example to them. He was helping them change their lives. And thanks to the evil so-called teacher unions and Obama, a man I'll never respect my whole life, those people destroyed the greatest teacher those little kids probably ever will have. A black man, too, that those young black kids could have emulated themselves after
He was not black enough.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He wouldn't go along with the black agenda. That was what was wrong. Like Larry Elder, they called him a racist because he wouldn't go along with their agenda. Yeah, and Uncle Tom. So these people they're wicked. You're right, they're racist. And I just have to say, this is a very personal story, but I just have to share this because of what Obama's done to this country. That man has done more to destroy this country, along with the unions and all of his friends. When my son was 12 years old, my younger son that I told you is so smart, he's a young man who's very perceptive, very connected to God, and smart, and spinning around like a Tasmanian devil. He came downstairs in our house, and we had the news on. He was only 12 years old. He'll be 29 in a couple of weeks. So this was when Obama was first running for office, when he had the horrible posters that you could see were communists. My son walks downstairs. He sees Obama on the TV. He'd never seen this man before. He didn't know who he was. He's just on the TV. And my son points at the TV and says, "That man is a liar." He saw right through him. Isn't that amazing? Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings. So his lies have done a lot of damage to children in America, and to our educational system in America, to our safety in America, to our freedoms in America, and we have to defeat them. We have to defeat their wicked agenda and hold them accountable.
So you're saying all the unions are left?
The government unions.
Government unions.
The only one that's a little tricky is the police union.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the police union, I talked to a police officer about this because I couldn't figure them out. They're individualized, like they have a union for this and a union, and they're not, I guess they're not all under one umbrella. So some of them are bad and some of them are good. So I've seen police officers, be destroyed, through all this rioting and all that, and police officers are blamed for it. And I'm like, where's their union? Why aren't they speaking out for them? So my guess is some of them are corrupt and some of them are good. But all the other government unions that I know of, they're totally corrupt and they're in bed with this wicked system.